Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Streamed and Screened, an entertainment podcast about movies and TV from Lee Enterprises. I'm Terry Lipschutz, managing editor of the National Newsroom at Lee, and co-host of the program, Bruce Miller, editor of the Sioux City Journal and a longtime entertainment reporter. And you're like the wizard. You have all the magic.
I have the wand right here, and I can zap it. You know what's funny? Is that I was around when Wizards of Waverly Place started. It didn't really leave an impression. Is this not ridiculous? And now they're bringing it back, and I have done a deep dive to go back to the old one to see if I was missing something or what it was. And I realized that it was very much trying to do a kid's version of Friends, but also including a little Harry Potter in there and a tip of the hat to Hannah Montana.
Yeah, I could only assume your original review of it was Selena Gomez will never amount to anything.
This woman will not be working 10 years from now, right?
Yeah, I can see where you're saying that, though, because it is a show, and I'm pretty familiar with it because my daughters watched it. It was like a little Harry Potter-ish. It was a little bit Hannah Montana, definitely. I kind of got into it every once in a while because there'd be like weird New York references that as somebody from New York originally kind of got. It was fine. I didn't mind it. They throw, when you're a parent and your kids are watching things, you inevitably get stuck watching them too. And there's a lot of things I can tell you I hated watching. This wasn't one of them. I didn't mind. I really didn't mind it. Yeah.
It's clever. I think that's the best word to put with it. I noticed that the kids still had that kind of Disney school of acting. What? Where it's kind of the big reaction to anything that might be said. You're a wizard? What? It'd be like that. And I noticed that over the years, Selena Gomez has really changed. She's not as kind of animated as she was back then. And now in Only Murders in the Building, she's very done like this. And she talks like, okay, sounds real good. And she has a cooking show, too, that is a little less. So it's interesting to see how they do change. But this was a big thing for her. It gave her a name in the business. And it was like, why would she leave this? Because they only did 4 seasons. And you think, well, was she mad about something? Or did she think she had a good gig coming up? And really, it was just brilliant timing for her. It was time to move on. She decided to move on. She got great work. She launched a recording career that was pretty substantial. She's got all this merchandise that she's out there selling. She's a billionaire. So I think all in all, the Wizards were good to her. But now David Henrie, who played her brother, came to her and said, you know what we should do? We should reboot Waverly Place. Let's do something about it. And they talked. They were always talking. They were still friends, talked about it and decided, what could we do? And they decided to make his character, who was a teenager back when the show was on, the dad. Now, they're taking a leap because I don't know that the time is just enough time to be able to have a 14-year-old kid. It works. The dad is kind of the strict disciplinarian and doesn't want the world to know that these kids have abilities, wants them to lead kind of non-wizard lives. And then what happens? Sister comes back. So Selena Gomez in Wizards Beyond Waverly Place comes back to ask her brother to teach this young girl how to be a good wizard. And Billie is her name, a newcomer. Janice LeAnn Brown plays the role. And she kind of is the surrogate, if you will. She does the same kinds of things that Selena Gomez's Alex did back in the day. And then she's brought into the family, and then his kids have to kind of keep this going with, it's them all over again, but younger and able to do more things because they're keeping the secret.
Yeah, I mean, and this isn't the first time we've seen programs take a somewhat similar approach, because you had Full House and then you had Fuller House, which is it's the same thing, but the kids are now the adults and the adults now have kids, and those kids are repeating the same things that they did when they were kids. So we see this.
It's really weird that Alkeo Thiel, who looks just like David Henrie, is so good at duplicating him. This is what you will love about it most of all. is that he's able to capture all those kind of little moments and then kind of give his dad a nudge. So it's a nice little hat tip to that. And the other kid, Max Matenko, looks just like the other little kid did in the first one. It worked for me. But then I went back and looked at the old ones, and it's interesting to see where they went with that. They could easily just duplicate all these shows if they wanted to, because the kids probably wouldn't remember the plot, and they just kind of tweak it a little.
Right. It's a interesting approach too, to kind of do this 10 years later, because on one hand, you may get some of the people that watched the original to watch it again for nostalgia purposes, but now you're also introducing it to a whole new generation. And what is that new generation going to do? They're going to stream this, but they're going to be like, well, what is this all about? So then they're going to go back and stream the original 4 seasons. So now you're just kind of regurgitating old content to a whole new, but we see this with everything,
Yeah.
You make a new Star Wars movie or a new Indiana Jones movie or a new Marvel movie or whatever, and people are going to go back and watch the originals, hopefully, ideally.
I found it was very easy to just let one drift into another, because you know how they have that autoplay where it goes from one, and they're short. They're like 20 minutes, because I think they must have included commercials back in the day. So you just keep going, you think, and they do continue the storyline. So if there was a story started in one, it could continue into the next one or the next one or the next one. And so it's not like you're suddenly having to, well, wait a minute now, who is this all over again? But more than likely, we will see some of those OG Waverly Place people turn up in cameo roles here and there, because they haven't said, oh, and by the way, everybody died that lived in Waverly Place. They haven't done that.
No. I just want to know, is the sandwich shop still
going?
Still going?
Yeah, still going.
Nice.
And the mom is very much like the mom in the first one, but she said there are more adult moments, and she said that was good because she was worried that she would just be there to serve the needs of the kids. And she said, no, we have our moments. Our role is, as a couple, and they bring her in enough so that she has work to do, not just, here, kids, make sure you eat this sandwich.
Yeah. That's always, I think, with a lot of these Disney tween shows, they do a decent enough job to, you got to be careful with the content. You don't want to have too many adult themes, but they can do it in a way where the parents who are often stuck there watching it with their kids can at least appreciate it and be like, yeah,
they're not going like, oh God, do we have to see this again?
I've only got 20 minutes to go of this
I have
thing.
20 minutes left of my life, and this is how I'm spending it. No, and I think it was an Emmy winner. It held up in the early years. So I think it was a decent show. And I think this will be a decent one too. I did get to talk to all of the new cast members, and I have David Henrie and then Janice Brown together, and they're talking about the show. David, when the show ended, the first show ended, did you ever think you'd be back revisiting the characters at some point, or?
I think I might have made a joke like, see you guys in 10 years. But I never took it seriously. As time went by, Selena and I always stayed very close. We were the closest in age in the cast, so we always had a closer relationship than anyone else. And as time went by, I get married, I start having kids, and Selena and I, whenever we get together, we're always talking about the memories from the original show and then speculating. We'd always speculate on what our characters would be up to. So at a certain point, we just realized like, hey, I think we got something here. And I was like, Selena, why don't we just go do this in front of Disney, like what we're doing right now? And so I called up the executives. We organized a pitch. Selena and I formalized it a little more with other people at my production company. We sat down and Disney loved it. And we went into development, and it took some time, and we're here now. But yeah, it was really organic how it all came about.
When you're deciding then who's going to be the family, how do you decide I'm going to have this many kids, I'm going to have this, I'm going to have the outsider come in and be the kind of the rebel? How do you factor all that in?
We knew we wanted to do 3 because we wanted to pay homage to the original show, but we wanted to do it differently. And in fact, when it became clear we wanted to tell family values that people loved from the original show, but in a new way, Billie's character really solved the equation for us, because you want to, if you're resurrecting a piece of IP, you want to do it in a new way, but you want to take what people loved about that and bring that spirit forward. But how do you do it in a new way, right? And one of the things that people loved about the show was just how seriously we took the telling of family values. And we did it in different ways and in deeper ways than most kids' show did. We touched on things and themes that a lot of family shows wouldn't do. We weren't afraid of that. And so we wanted to redo that, but we had to do it new. So when we figured out the character of Billie, it all kind of made sense as a vehicle to start retelling those themes, because what's better than to contrast those themes with a character who doesn't believe in any of that? So if you bring a character who's mistrusting a family, who's never been accepted, who's never found stability into the mix, then that is a perfect vehicle to start to retell those same family values, and also provide a new depth, something like found family and what that means. So that's been actually a really fun new element.
Janice, how familiar were you with the original series? I mean, had you watched it? Did you even know about it, or what?
Yeah, so I was actually a big fan of the movies more than the series, actually.
Okay.
But I probably watched like 1 or 2 seasons, and then probably also watched maybe a few more episodes with my cousin because she's older than me. So she would watch it as well sometimes. So I would say I was pretty familiar with it. I loved the movies. Like as soon as I would finish it, go right back to it and finish watching it again.
Oh, wow. Did you see Selena as a role model? Did you say, there's somebody I could follow in terms of career, in terms of just everything?
Yeah, actually. I thought, even seeing her in like interviews and all of that stuff. And I also loved watching her in Another Cinderella Story. That was also one of my favorite movies. So I definitely found her to be a very beautiful lady inside and out. And she's just the sweetest. So to be honest, career-wise, I would love to be like her, in a way, but also be a little bit like myself, add a little bit of that spark of myself into there.
When I was talking to the kids, Alkeo said that there was a little kind of, yeah, you do look like David, when he auditioned for this. Is that a part of it? Is that something that you thought of when you said, this kid looks like me?
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, I thought I was looking in the mirror myself as a young kid, and obviously that's good when you're trying to cast a son. But what set him apart, though, was his act. His timing is impeccable, and that's something that you really can't teach. You can hone it, and you can sharpen it, and you can get better, but you can't teach that instinct. That's a really hard thing to do. And all these kids have that timing built in, and you have to have it for sitcoms. It's really tough to do comedy because when you're doing comedy, you have to believe what you're saying, so you have to understand the drama, and you have to be on time. In a single cam, you can kind of find the moment. In sitcoms, you have to do it on time. That's a tall order. It's why a lot of dramatic actors don't like doing comedy, because there's no freedom there.
What is the secret, though, for a child star turning out okay and continuing on? Is it something about being on the right set? Is it the way you're treated? What is it that, you guys, look how great you guys turned out?
I think a lot of it, I'm very blessed that I have good parents, and a lot of it comes down to the parenting. You need to always treat kids like kids, and one of the things my parents did well was that. And also, they never needed me. They never were telling me, you need to do this to be the breadwinner, or I'm going to take your money, or anything like that. That can really divide families and create an inverted dynamic that shouldn't be there. So the more healthy you can keep your family dynamic, the more healthy that person's going to be. And then the on-set experience is obviously a very important one as well. And I've been doing this for 26 years now, so I've experienced the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I really make a conscious effort to bring all of my good experiences forward and learn from all those experiences and see what principles were at play that made those good experiences. And the heart of it to me is really a servant leadership model. If you're there going, you know what, we're here to serve this audience. There are people out there who need to smile. There's people out there who are going through a really, really rough time, and they could use some heart and humor. And we're here for that person. So let's not forget that. There's that little kid sitting there, and it might even be your younger self when you were having a rough time back in the day and you turned something on and it made a difference to you. So let's not forget that, guys. Let's leave our egos at the door, and let's always be here to serve that audience and serve each other. Then, you kind of work from the outwards in. You serve your audience, serve your castmates, and in doing so, you serve yourself.
Janice, what's he like on set?
Mr. David, I have to thank you so much just for here right now. He makes the set so much fun. Like, the culture is just so healthy. Honestly, I couldn't imagine it a different way. Like, he is genuinely, and I can see it, he cares a lot for us as kids. And he definitely wants to make us feel like it's not like we have to be these adults or whatever, like we can't be kids. Like if we feel this way, suck it up. You know, yes, we are kids working an adult job, but that does not mean we have to necessarily be adults. You know, he still allows us to still have a childhood while also doing the thing that we love. He makes it fun, and he's just so funny, and he has so many great acting tips and, you know, life tips as well. So honestly, Mr. David is a great person to work with. 10 out of 10 recommend, guys.
All right. Well, now go make magic. Okay. I'm counting on you. And thanks for bringing this back. That's really cool to see it again.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
PenFed Free Checking offers 0 fees and 0 balance requirements for 0 hassle. PenFed Access America Checking lets you earn money on your balance for dreams big and small. Choose the best account for you and start making the most of your money. Learn more at PenFed.org. Federally insured by NCUA. To receive any advertised product, you must become a member of PenFed Credit Union.
PenFed's got great rates for everyone.
Bruce, you know what happened recently was my Mets lost. My Mets are done for the season.
Uh-oh.
So I'm suddenly getting some of my time back to watch things other than sports in the evening. There are things, the NBA season is coming back, NHL season is back. So I'll watch some of those games from here and there, but baseball is I kind of live and die for it, and my poor Mets just died in the NLCS.
Does that mean you give up on baseball altogether then when they don't win?
Well, it's the Dodgers and the Yankees, and it's like, I don't know. I go Dodgers, so I don't want the Yankees to win, but
wow.
I'll like sneak in here and there. But this is an opportunity now to kind of get back into some other things, because there have been some gaps with like days off between the seasons. So I quick did like a huge binge of season 3 of The Morning Show on Apple TV Plus. But my wife and I, you know, we basically in the last few weeks have only watched like Saturday Night Live, the new episodes. And she's says to me the other day, is like, do we have anything to watch? And I'm like, yes, I saved something for us. Shrinking season 2 just dropped their first 2 episodes. And this is a show I know you're not really into it because you're not the target audience to it. It's like, you know, my wife and I think we're kind of in that, it appeals to kind of like middle age, you got kids, that kind of thing. So it's fun to watch that. It's really a cool. The first 2 episodes dropped. We haven't seen episode 3 yet, but they bring back the full cast from last season. But one of the co-creators of the show, who you of course know from Ted Lasso, Brett Goldstein makes a bit of an appearance in a surprising way. So it should be fun. We only got a little bit of a snippet of him in a couple, like one we see him in the house in the dark kind of thing, and then another where basically Jason Segel is just yelling at him, screaming at him. So that's pretty much all we've gotten of him so far, but I suspect we'll be getting a little bit more Brett Goldstein.
Oh, you will.
Yeah, clean shaven, so it's like, wait a second, that's Roy Kent, and he's not spewing expletives. So it's like, I know who you are, but it's just, you know, it's kind of like seeing Keeley in the last episode of, or last season of Fargo, where it's like, wait a second,
that doesn't work.
You're a totally different person now. So yeah, that's kind of fun. But the nice thing with this is actually the first of 3 shows that my wife and I have been into on Apple TV that are coming back in quick succession. So this is ongoing now. It'll kind of run through, I guess, probably the end of the year. But Silo season 2, which was kind of I think a bit of a sleeper show for us, that comes back, I think, November 15th with the second season. It was it started off a little slow for us, but then kind of picked up steam as the season went on, and we were kind of into it, and then it ended on a really big cliffhanger for season 1. So that's coming back. And then another show which is going to come back in early January, which I like, it came out, season 1 dropped February of 2022. So it's almost 3 full years.
Wow.
So this is coming back. January 17th is season 2 of Severance. And that was a bit of a mind-blowing sci-fi.
They'll have to do a little, since you were gone, let's have a little recap.
You know, one of those weird dystopian dramas. And we really liked it. I mean, I don't know who the full cast, I haven't looked to see who's coming back and not, but it was a really weird show. Christopher Walken had a bizarre kind of like guest role in it, and obviously John Turturro, who is just amazing in just about anything you put him in. Patricia Arquette was really good in it. So that one was one that we finished watching it. We finished watching it late. It was like a year or so after it came out, and we're like, is season 2 coming now? And it's not. We had to wait. So, but it's almost back.
Before it first came out, they sent us a box, and it's the kind of box you get when you're let go at a company. It had all these things in there. It was kind of fun. It was cute.
That's what I've been watching.
I am now digging into new movies.
Oh boy.
And I'm getting things because they need to get on the year-end list. And so every night I get a new name of something big that, if I lived in Los Angeles or New York, I'd be going to premieres every night. But now it's like when they put it on this special screening channel that you can get, but you have to use the double secret private numbers, and you got to do it before 10 seconds have passed. If you don't get it in just right, then you have to wait 15 minutes, and they could lock you out 3 times if you don't get it right.
Oh boy.
So there's a lot of that. But it's a lot of those films that maybe ran a week in some cities and then disappeared. So I'm looking forward to kind of drilling into those things. And then the big ones. Conclave is starting this week, and that's supposed to be one of the big Best Picture contenders about the Pope and finding a new Pope.
Yes.
Ray Fiennes. It could be Ray Fiennes' this big shot at all that stuff. So it's fascinating. And you're watching those ones on Apple. Isn't there one with Cate Blanchett?
Yes.
And friends say that that's one of their favorite news shows. They can't wait for the next episode to come. Fascinating. So that's one that'll be on the list.
That's actually disclaimer, right?
Disclaimer. That's it.
Yeah. And then Kevin Kline is in that one also. Sasha
Who looks
Baron
really
Cohen.
old in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's a lot of stuff. Now tis the season to hunker in.
Tis the season. I'm trying to think, like you mentioned going to the premieres. You got to be in New York and LA. And in my mind, I always thought, like, what is a premiere in Sioux City look like? Like they're just
that's
rolling
a good question.
It's not a red carpet. It's more like a snow mat that they put out in front of the door. And you just wipe your feet.
If you can get to the door, right? But I've had a lot of ones where they just show it to me, and so then they have a guard standing in the back to make sure I'm not videotaping anything. And you usually get free pop and popcorn. So that's good. And you can sit anywhere.
Yeah. You basically get the whole theater yourself, right?
So I prefer that. I would rather have that than kind of elbowing somebody at a premiere in New York or Los Angeles. And I've been to those. Those are fascinating, but people do dress up for those things. And they are just as bad as I am because they get a little card or a ticket that says, this is good for anything at the concession stand. And anything does not mean one thing. It means anything. So if you say, I want all of it, they give you all of it.
Yes. I will have 12 boxes of peanut M&Ms.
That's how it is. And you go, have I died? Has something happened that this is where I am, that I could get all free concessions no matter what?
I will have 4 small popcorns. I don't want one big bucket. I want 4 small popcorn. Exactly. I don't want to stick my hand into the big bucket. I'd rather just very, very demure almost, very mindful.
And then they'll have usually a dinner afterwards. So after you've loaded up with all this concession stuff, you're going to eat dinner and you go, wait a minute, I should have paced myself a little better.
Right. Are the meals then kind of themed off of what you just watched too?
Yeah. Could be. Like I've been to a lot of barbecue hoedowns if it's a Western.
Sure.
That's a common one. I had a really elegant one for Victor Victoria, and it was at a building that has now been destroyed, but real classy. And you had to sit, you were assigned seating. You couldn't just sit wherever. And I was assigned next to Robert De Niro.
Whoa.
So that was good. And I learned a lot about Robert De Niro from that evening. That isn't the way it always is. Or they'll do breakfast. That's another big thing now, is they'll do a breakfast screening. You'll get breakfast, and then you'll interview the people in the afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting how they change these things up. But 'tis the season. Now we're starting to see all the big movies.
All right. Well, I look forward to hearing more about those Christmas-themed or Christmas release movies, not necessarily theme, but we're getting to that point of the year where the big ones are going to start dropping.
If you'd like, yeah, we're going to have a moment here where we'll talk about the Christmas movies out of Hallmark.
Oh,
There is a method to the madness.
okay. All right. Well, I'm looking to have a wicked good time with some of our movie discussion in the future, if you pick up on that.
Let it go. Coming out too, by the way, Frozen 3 coming out.
Yep. Can't wait for that one. Especially now in my house where my daughters are going to be singing songs nonstop. My one daughter just cast as Elsa in the middle school production of Frozen Junior, and my other daughter as the Queen and also part of the ensemble chorus. So very exciting times here now in my house.
Wait until we hear you say, I can't stand that song. I've heard it too much.
Yep. So they over the weekend after they found out what parts they had, one of them said like, we should watch Frozen, and I said no.
You don't want to steal from an animated character.
No, I wanna go into this fresh. You're good. Just listen on your own, and we're all good.
And then they'll try to do the voices, and that's not good.
On that note, we will be back again next week with another episode, Streamed and Screamed.